Hi there, welcome to the University of Waterloo Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology presentation. My name is Pamela Herbert, and I'm the undergraduate recruitment coordinator in the Faculty of Health, which means that I'm the main contact for future students interested in studying kinesiology or one of our other 5 majors. Okay, to get started, let's chat about what is kinesiology. So kinesiology is the science behind human movement, and at Waterloo, when we're studying that, we study a few key priority areas. The first main area we study is anatomy. So when we're studying the human body, it's really important to understand the body's physical structure. We believe anatomy is so critical to understanding kinesiology that we were the first non-medical school in Canada to house a school of anatomy. What that means is that our students studying anatomy can use human cadavers right from first year. So in their anatomy lab, students learn the function of muscles, bones, vessels, and nerves involved in movement. And they also have a third-year neuroscience course that uses the anatomy lab to study the brain and central nervous system. Throughout the degree, students will apply their anatomy experience to learn about movement, injury, and disease. And another important component of kinesiology is physiology. So understanding how the body functions. So do you ever wonder what's happening inside your body during a rigorous workout? In kinesiology, we study vascular responses to exercise to understand why our body behaves the way we do. Physiologists study internal organs and systems to determine how they function to create movement. They also analyze our system's ability to adapt to different conditions. Bodily tests of body The best test of bodily systems is using exercise, and that's regardless of the level of fitness of the person you're testing. So from an older adult who is recovering from something like a heart surgery to what an elite athlete needs to do to prep their body for something like an ultra marathon or a competition. We even study things like what happens to bodily systems in conditions like low gravity environments that might be in place in the International Space Station. The next main area we study is nutrition. So what we put into our bodies and how that affects how we function. So have you ever wondered how fad diets like the keto diet work? We study how nutrients are broken down and distributed throughout the body and work to understand the mechanisms behind different types of diets. For students who want to study more in depth in this area, we also have a human nutrition minor available. Right. Next, we have when we're studying about different outcomes of things like a stroke and how that might affect different parts of the body depending what types of the brain was affected. So we'll study things like speech difficulties, inability to move on one side, or cognitive issues. As you can imagine, a functioning brain is critical to human health. And what happens when something goes wrong? We still have a lot to learn about the brain and how changes to the brain, such as a stroke or concussion, or an illness like Parkinson's disease, affects our abilities to think and move. In neuroscience, we investigate the neurological system and how it can be impacted by things like by sensory input. An example of that is how our motor skills can be compromised when we're texting and driving or doing too many things at once. When someone's texting and driving, their reaction time increases, which can have deadly results. Fourth area we study is biomechanics. So have you ever tried to change the way you walk or run in order to go faster or reduce your chance of having an injury? Those types of things are the things we study in biomechanics. So biomechanics is the physics of movement and forces that act on the musculoskeletal system to create and control movement. So we use these principles to analyze things like range of motion or tissue tolerance and determine how much load or force our bodies can take before they're at risk for injury. Ergonomics, or designing processes or products that minimize the risk of injury or increase efficiency, is also studied. And once we understand how the body works and moves, it's also important to understand how other factors might be at play. So are you looking for ways to motivate yourself to engage in healthier behaviors or influencing others to do the same? In kinesiology, we integrate social services or social sciences into our program because it's important to understand the factors driving human behavior. We can be experts at assessing, diagnosing, and treating illness and injury, but ultimately we want to prevent a recurrence or stop it from happening. So it's important to understand human behavior there. This photo is actually from a third-year class where older adults from the community were invited to come in for an osteoporosis assessment risk. And our students actually got to recommend exercises for them to reduce the risk. So that was a cool example of experiential learning. So you might wonder, well, many universities offer kinesiology. Why study it at Waterloo? One thing that we're really proud of at Waterloo is we've been doing what we've been doing for a long time. So we're really happy to be the world's first department of kinesiology. We've had lots of time to grow and become well established in the field. So Waterloo is among the top 50 universities in the world for anatomy and physiology, which is studied in depth in our department. We've also had time to grow and offer many courses. So you can really tailor your degree to your interests. We have over 70 kin classes to choose from. Another reason students choose Waterloo to study kinesiology is that focus on learning by doing. So most of our required kinesiology courses do have a lab component with it. So you're getting to test out equipment that you might use in a clinical setting later on in small groups. So our labs tend to have anywhere from 10 to 30 students. So you really get to know one another and lots of hands-on experience doing assessments on each other. We also have other opportunities for experiential learning, such as our co-op program, which I'll talk about shortly. If you're not in co-op, we do have an alternate experience called EDGE, where you can opt into this certificate program, get access to professional development skills, and learn how to better articulate your skills and experience to prospective employers. Right, so speaking about co-op, when you apply to kinesiology at Waterloo, you'll have two streams to choose from at the application stage. So the regular stream is the traditional 4-year program where you study from September to April and you have your summers off. That means lots of flexibility in your studies, social life and living arrangements, because you can kind of continue the same thing year round, part-time jobs, volunteer experiences, etc. As well, we do have the EDGE certificate if you do want to add some career focus onto your regular traditional program. With co-op, however, that turns the program into a 5-year program. It's the same number of on-campus academic semesters, which is 8. But between your academic semesters, you'll start alternating 4 months of study with 4 months of paid work related to the field. So we have a huge database of jobs available in which you can apply. You can filter by location, industry, your level of study, and then you compete for those jobs against other students. We help you through that process. We have advisors, workshops, resume critiques, and we have a huge database of jobs available. So we'll support you through the way, but it is a more competitive and admittedly stressful process. There is an extra co-op fee on top of what you'd pay for a regular stream. It's about $3,500 throughout the whole degree because you are using the co-op support systems in order to be successful. Co-op students typically make between $8,000 and $13,000 per 4-month work term. So the co-op fee tends to not be a barrier to most students, but we do like to mention it to be totally transparent. So this work study sequence does show you what the co-op work study sequence looks like. So your first year, you're just on campus. So you study from September to April. You have that first 4 months summer off. And then after that, you don't really have a break. You're studying for 4 months and working for 4 months and so on. But depending on when your employer wants you to start and end the co-op work term and when classes start and end, you might have a week or two between classes where you could go home. But it all depends on the semester. Okay, this is Lauren. So she is a kinesiology graduate who originally wanted to work with patients recovering from stroke. So when she was in co-op, she liked the opportunity to try out different jobs. And one of her work terms, she ended up working with children with special needs. And she had no idea how rewarding that was. And it really opened her eyes to career possibilities. She's now a physiotherapist who specializes in that area. So that's just one example of how co-op can let you try out different areas to see what you like and don't like, and see if it opens your eyes to any career options you didn't really think about before. All right, moving on. People might wonder, well, what can I do once I graduate with this degree? Since our program's so focused on the science behind how the body works and moves, a lot of graduates use it as a stepping stone to careers in healthcare. So going on to medical school to become a physician or occupational therapist, physiotherapist, chiropractor, or something that you can do right after graduation without further studies is a registered kinesiologist. So those are some popular options. We also have students go into workplace safety type roles, things like becoming an ergonomist or health and safety officer. Exercise and health promotion is another popular field. There's lots of different opportunities in there, from exercise physiology, where you could be working with those elite athletes or those older adults recovering from a major illness, or you working as a strength and conditioning coach or athletic trainer. Finally, a lot of our students use it as a stepping stone to get into education, becoming a teacher, or going into research, or using wearable technologies to look at healthcare service delivery, or to improve performance on things. If you think of an Apple Watch, there's a lot of different applications you can use for that. And healthcare providers are increasingly using wearable technologies to better serve their patients, and or athletes are using it to better identify what their body's doing and how to perform at a higher level. All right, this is Nick Frank. He's a kinesiology graduate who went kind of a unique career route. So he was interested in biomechanics, and he did a couple of his co-op work terms in ergonomics type setting. But what he really wanted to do was design running shoes. So that wasn't something that we had in our database of jobs. And so he took advantage of the opportunity to arrange his own work term and contacted Nike. And so he relocated to their US office for his final two work terms. He came back to Waterloo to do his master's, and now he's working at Nike full-time designing running shoes. So that's kind of an interesting career that you might not think of when you think of kinesiology, but it really is a broad-reaching field. And when you're looking at the human body as well, it's not likely, many of the jobs that you'd be going into are not likely to be automated anytime soon. Okay, in terms of admission requirements and what's required, we tend to have about 210 students come into the program each year. These are the Ontario curriculum requirements, but if you're coming in from a curriculum outside Ontario, you can go to our admissions requirement website and just pick your system of study from our drop-down menu, and it'll tell you exactly what courses and average you need. But we'll require an English, one of advanced functions or calculus and vectors. So those are two math courses in Ontario. And then two of biology, chemistry, or physics. So we'll take those in your next best two grade 12U or M level courses and calculate an average. For the regular stream, we're looking for a minimum of 80% or above. Low 80s is typically where our cutoff falls. And for the co-op stream, we'll look for mid 80s. We do ask that students submit an admission information form after they've applied. We'll email you instructions on how to do that. That's where you get to brag about yourself and tell us about what you're doing outside the classroom. It is not required for admission, but we do recommend it as it can be used in some of our scholarship decisions. Depending on your previous language of study as well, you may or may not need to submit the English language proficiency test. There's more information on that and who is required to submit it on our website. Okay, should you want to find out more, you're welcome to reach out to the contact there directly. That email address and phone number goes to me. So if you have further questions or a special circumstance, you're welcome to contact me, and I'd be happy to connect with you. I'd also suggest trying to visit us in person or virtually. So every fall and March, we have an open house, and it'll be listed on that tours and events page. And we also run campus tours and tours of our Faculty of Health most weeks of the year. So you can go to that website and see what tours are coming up. If you can't make it to campus in person, we also offer weekly virtual tours. You can also connect with a current student. So we have many current students who are happy to reach out and chat about their own experiences in the program. They're very passionate about what they study and where they are. So you can fill out a form and we'll match you with a student within a couple of days. All right, so thank you for taking the time to learn more about kinesiology at Waterloo, and hopefully I'll see you on campus one day soon.